Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. Hope you are doing well. And we are already just going through the topic, that's the genetics. Um, I just defined the related terms of it. What's the genetics and what's the need of genetics? And now today I'm going to familiar you with the different terms that are used in the genetics, like different terms, like as I already mentioned the term that's called chromosome, okay, gene, phenotype, okay, genotype, dominant gene, and recessive gene. So listen here. तो ऑलरेडी पढ़ चुके हैं, ऑलरेडी जेनेटिक्स की डेफिनेशन मैंने दी है. तो ये बिफोर दैट हम मेंडल का कंट्रीब्यूशन पढ़ेंगे. इसमें हम मेंडल का मतलब वर्क पढ़ेंगे कि मेंडल ही फॉर्मुलेटेड द डिफरेंट लॉज like as law of independent assortment, and also formulate he found the different crosses like as monohybrid cross and dihybrid cross. Before proceeding in the Mendel's work, before going through the Mendel's work, let me just tell you the different terms. Let me make you familiar different terms, like as the chromosome. Already I just mentioned that. What's a chromosome? It is simply just to be called as a thread-like structure that is present in the nucleus of the cell. The thread-like structure. I just say that thread-like structure, and already I mentioned that this thread-like structure is to be called as chromatin material. It's called chromatin material. But as soon as this cell starts dividing, this chromatin material gets condensed to form the chromosome. It forms the chromosome, and you can see chromosome only in the dividing cells. The cells which are dividing, you will just see the chromosomes in them. But this, where the cell is in a resting stage, or cell is in a resting stage, you will just find these chromosome in the thread-like structures, where that it is to be called as chromatin. Now, as soon cell starts dividing, then it to be formed as a chromosome. Got it? Now these we're finding. Now listen here. These chromosomes, they are to be called as carriers, or they are to be just as a carriers of the genetic material. But what carries? What they carry is actually, these chromosomes carry the units of DNA, and these units of DNA is called the gene. The units of DNA is to be called as a gene. Listen what gene is. The gene are actually you just called as heredity unit. Suppose if this is the DNA, I'm just going to tell you, लीजिए ये DNA है. This is the DNA, and this DNA, now this DNA carries the many information is in it. It carries the information for different traits which are going to express. Now you know that this segment of DNA, ये DNA का कोई भी आप segment लीजिए, आप इसे gene कहते हो. या you also call the array of nucleotides, the linear array of nucleotides. This is the DNA. Actually the DNA is made up of the nucleotide. ये nucleotide different, it contains different types of the nucleotides. Different types of nucleotides over there. These nucleotides, these array of nucleotides, these linear array of nucleotides. Okay, these linear array of nucleotides, and any DNA is to be called as a gene. So gene is simply, आप इसे लीजिए, this is the segment of DNA. This segment of DNA is to be called a gene, and this is the unit of, आप इसे unit of DNA कह सकते हो, आप इसे segment of DNA कह सकते हो, या आप ये भी कह सकते हो. And अगर आप molecular level पे जाओगे, आप कहोगे कि DNA में ये DNA है, this is the strand, DNA strand, it consists of the many nucleotides in it. These linear array of nucleotides, and any in any DNA is to be called as gene. Got it? And what is the function of the gene? Every gene controls a particular trait. Let me mention over here. Before the जब मेंडल का दौर आया, मेंडल ने अपनी माइलस्टोन, मेंडल ने अपना काम स्टार्ट किया, तो उस टाइम जीन, ये कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ जीन नहीं था. उस टाइम इनको जीन नहीं कहते थे. द फैक्टर्स दैट वर कंट्रोलिंग these units that were controlling the particular traits, they were not called genes at that time. They were called, these genes were called as factors. The genes were called as factors. After that, they were to be called as genes. Okay, then they were to be called as genes. But during the Mendel's time, when the Mendel was manipulating, when Mendel was doing the work, during the Mendel's work, these we just called as these traits controlling. These traits controlling were to be called as factors, and they were not to be called as a genes over here. And what I am going to tell you, that gene controls the particular trait. Trait is simply a character. Character, I mean say that अगर बात करते हैं plant की, about the tallness of the plant, about the color of the flower, about the shape of the leaf, this is the trait. Okay, and every gene, you know that every trait in any organism is controlled by the two genes. हर एक trait या एक trait आप इसे कहते हो एक factor, every factor or every trait in an organism is controlled by pair of genes. It is controlled by pair of genes. It is controlled by pair of genes. Suppose I will give the example. I will give the example of the genetic makeup of an organism. Suppose if there is the plant is the tall. This tallness is a trait, it is a factor, and it's controlled by the pair of genes. It will be controlled by capital T and capital T. What I'm going to mention, that every gene is controlled by the every factor or every trait is controlled by the pair of genes. It depends upon the which will express and which will be not expressed. So here gene, मुझे बताना है कि gene is the unit of DNA or array, simply the array of nucleotides in the DNA or segment of DNA that controls the particular trait. और trait मैंने ये बताया दिया है कि traits are physical characteristics. Okay, traits are physical characteristics. They are the traits, a character. Suppose color of eye is a trait. Color of a skin is a trait. Now thereafter it comes another term we just called as a phenotype. What's a phenotype? जैसे मैंने कहा जीन जो है ये किसी ट्रेट को एक्सप्रेस करता है, किसी ट्रेट को कंट्रोल करता है. The gene synthesize the proteins and these proteins then express the traits. Now what is the phenotype in an organism? Listen here. Phenotype is they are the physical characters. So here the phenotype is they are the physical characters. Physical characters. They are the physical characters. Yeah, you just call it. This is the appearance of an organism. The appearance of an organism. Okay? Physical character. Genotype. If we say that, sorry, phenotype. If we say that organism, there's a man, he's having the blue eyes, he's having the black hair, he's having the light skin, he's a tall, okay, this is the phenotype of an organism. This is a phenotype. If we say the plant is, it's having the green leaves, it's having the different type, it's having the racemose type of the racemose type of flower arrangement. It's having the pink flowers, or it's having the red flowers, or it's having the white flowers. This color of flower is it is the phenotype. We just call the phenotype. The external physical characters of any organism is to be called as a phenotype. Now next one is to be called as a genotype. Now मैंने ये कहा कि ईच फिनोटाइप, पहले लेक्चर में भी ये भी मैंने कहा था कि हर कोई फिनोटाइप एक्सप्रेस होता है जीनोटाइप से। तो जीनोटाइप इज जेनेटिक मेकअप ऑफ एन ऑर्गेनिज्म, genetic makeup. Suppose I was just telling you that there is a plant, it's having the chromosome, it's having the chromosome pair that is capital T, or it's having the chromosome pair that's capital T and small t. So this is the chromosome, sorry, this is the gene, this is the gene. This gene will express its character and this gene will also express its character. So I can say that this is the genetic makeup, that every gene will express its character. Whether this gene will express its character in combination with its identical gene, or it will express its character even when its identical gene is not present over there. So we can say that this will express, this is a genetic makeup. So genes will synthesize the protein, and proteins or accordingly will synthesize the particular character in an, or they will give a particular appearance in an organism. So we just call that this is the genetic makeup. So genetic makeup is the genotype of an organism. और मैं भी ये भी कहा कि genetic genotype of an organism determines the phenotype of an organism. Genotype, suppose genotype, phenotype मैं explain कर दूंगा यहाँ पे. Suppose it's an organism, it's any plant, it's a plant is having the capital T gene with capital T and small t. This is a genetic makeup, and you know that. Let me explain in the future coming lectures that this is the gene that will control that will remain the dominant, and this is the gene that will remain the recessive. Now when you are growing this, when you are sowing this seed, when the plant will come out of it, the plant will be tall. So this is the genetic makeup. Here the capital T, that is the dominant gene, express its character so that the plant is tall. So this is the genetic makeup. Means that the genetic makeup, that is the capital T, express its characters and plant becomes tall. So genetic makeup, that's capital T, plant becomes tall. This is the phenotype. So this is the genotype, this is the phenotype. So genotype determines the phenotype. If the means that which gene will remain dominant and which gene will not, which gene will express its character and which gene will not. So that if it will express its character, okay, if it's not going to express its character, but when the character is expressed, that's a phenotype. So means that this is the genotype, and genotype will express the phenotype of an organism. Now question arises there, another that's to be called as dominant gene. Listen here. तो मैंने अभी यहाँ पे आपको ये बोला है कि सपोज मैं आपको एग्जांपल देता हूं, मैं एक एग्जांपल आपको देता हूं प्लांट की. प्लांट, देयर इज अ प्लांट विद द जीनोटाइप कैपिटल T. Keep it in mind that both of these two genes, they control the size of the plant. They control the size of the plant, and they control the size of the plant. But which size? That is the tallness. There is the genetic makeup, genotype, that is small t and small t. They control the particular trait, that is dwarfness. Now listen here. If we are going to cross these two plants, suppose we are going to cross these two plants, here the mixing up of gametes will take place. And after mixing you will जब पॉलिनेशन होगी, यहाँ पे पॉलिनेशन होगी, मैं मानता हूं एक प्लांट है, तो इस प्लांट का जो जीनोटाइप है वो स्मॉल टी और स्मॉल टी है, दूसरा प्लांट उसका जीनोटाइप कैपिटल टी है, मगर दिस द प्लांट डॉफ, दिस द प्लांट इज अ डॉफ, एंड दिस प्लांट स्मॉल टी is a dwarf, and this plant with capital T is a tall. Now I am going to cross pollinating of the two plants. When the cross pollination occurs and gametes are formed, now gametes will be like this. It will be capital T, small t, 1. Again it will be capital T, small t. Again it will be capital T, small t. Again it will be capital T, small t. So capital T, small t, capital T, small t, capital T, small t, capital T, small t. This is a combination of genes. When the pollination take place, and pollination में क्या है कि pollen grains जो फ्यूज हो गए एग के साथ, वहां पे एग के साथ फ्यूज हो गए ना, तो वहां पे जेनेटिक मेकअप बना, तो फ्यूज एग के साथ, तो मीन्स दैट यहाँ पे क्रोमोसोम, यहाँ पे एक्चुअली दिस इज द pollen grain and this the ova. When they get combined together, they will form the seeds, and these are the seeds with the genetic makeup. These are seeds with the genetic makeup. Now if you are going to sow this seed, अगर ये सीड आप सो करोगे, ये सीड सो करने से क्या हो जाएगा, ये सीड सो करने से प्लांट आ जाएगा, बट दैट प्लांट इज टॉल, that plant is tall with the genetic makeup capital T, small t, and what is the phenotype, plant is tall. तो मतलब यहाँ पे एक जीन जो है वो तो टॉल प्लांट का है, एक जीन जो है वो तो डार्क प्लांट का है, तो यहाँ पे ये जीन यहाँ, लेकिन करेक्टर ऐसा एक्सप्रेस हो गया, यहाँ पे टॉल का नहीं एक्सप्रेस, यहाँ पे स्मॉल डॉग का नहीं एक्सप्रेस हो गया, टॉल का एक्सप्रेस हो गया। तो आप ये कहोगे ये जो कैपिटल टी है, द जीन दैट कंट्रोल्स द character, which character, that the tallness of the plant, that is the it controls the tallness, it controls the tallness of the plant, and the small gene with small t that controls the dwarfness of the plant. When both of these two were given chance to express themselves in an offspring or in a plant with the genetic makeup capital T and small t, the plant was tall, means that only capital T express its characters and small t remain unexpressed. So यहाँ पे ये कहेंगे this capital T is a dominant gene and this small t is a recessive gene. So what is then a dominant gene? The gene that express its characters when its identical gene is present, or it's not necessary when identical gene is present, or even when it's not present over there. Okay, when identical gene is present, or when even identical gene is not to be present over there, so we just called as a dominant gene or recessive gene. So what is the recessive gene? This remains the recessive, small t remains the recessive, capital T remains the dominant. Capital T remains the dominant, it expresses its character, that it makes the plant tall. The small t, it remains the remains the recessive. Why? Because it does not express its character. So what is then a recessive gene? The gene that express its character only even when its identical gene is present with it. Suppose अगर यहाँ पे ये सीड भी शो करोगे, 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 तो